Everybody is talking about.
Joining us now is Charlie Hurd, columnist at the Washington Times. Charlie, dude, 4 Americans are dead, dude. You got emails, dude, and testimony, dude, that showed the administration knew it was a terrorist attack that night, dude. But they blame the video. I mean, you know, what do people say about all this?
I think people, especially with that extraordinary performance by Tommy Vitor, are pulling their hair out over this. And I love how they have gone to great lengths to sort of, Democrats as well as the White House, to try to blame all of this on Republicans, that they just won't stop talking about it. When, of course, the whole reason that everybody is still talking about it is because the administration has not been forthcoming, has done everything that they can to, to obfuscate what happened that night, and has not been forthcoming with the documentation. And I would actually argue, Eric, that most importantly, what they did that day by trying to blame the terrorist attack in Benghazi on at that point, an obscure internet video, thereby raising the profile of that video and causing it to go viral, and then subsequently causing thousands or hundreds of demonstrations around the world in Muslim countries where lots of people got killed and many, many more got injured. That's blood on their hands, and all of it stems from the fact that the administration and Democrats were trying to cover up what happened that night because it happened 2 months before President Obama's re-election campaign.
Well, but Jay Carney says that there were demonstrations. That's what that email was addressing. Wasn't addressing Benghazi. And Harry Reid is calling this a political stunt.
Yeah, and again, I guess the truth of the matter is that they don't have much option right now because, of course, they see the entire world not as true or false, but rather as everything is political, and so they've got to cover their own hides on a lot of this. But I think that there comes a moment, and I think that email is one of them, where it does break through to people, to independents and moderate Democrats who voted for this administration, vote for Democrats, where they say, wait a minute, something really does stink here. There really is a problem. And as you pointed out, at the top, you're talking about 4 Americans dead. You're talking about an ambassador who was murdered and perhaps worse. It's serious stuff, dude.
Well, also, Charlie, what could potentially come out of these hearings? I mean, what Vitor is saying apparently conflicts with what Deputy CIA Director Mike Morrell testified, that there were only 5 minor technical changes to the talking points. You got Vitor there saying, there was more than that.
Yeah, yes, and clearly that memo, the email, also reveals just how high up and how soon after all of this took place that the administration, they laid out exactly what their public strategy was going to be for spinning this thing, and they very much stuck with it. I think that these hearings can have an opportunity to bring out lots more emails that we don't know about. If they've been successfully holding this thing back for this long, no telling what else there is that they've been holding back. But also, I do think that obviously to some degree this is a political event, and that's part of the whole process, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. Obviously, Republicans can go too far with it, but the important thing is that that if they're able to shine a light on just how, what we already know is pretty shocking, and if this is a vehicle by which Republicans can shine a light on that, I think that's a useful thing in a Republican democracy.
Yeah, Charlie, one thing to talk about shining a light that was fascinating about that interview. He said, kind of just blurted out, he said, well, I was in the Situation Room, and then Brett Gez was the president there, and he said no. He said the president was in the White House, and the administration has said that he was briefed, he was updated, and all this. What can this show about what the president did or did not do that night? Was he upstairs in their residence having a private dinner while after an ambassador was slaughtered?
Well, that's certainly what it appears presently. But again, there has been so much information that has sort of dripped out in this kind of stalled fashion that I think that when you're sitting there having hearings where you'll probably have major cable coverage, around the clock, I think that allows people to sort of put the timeline together a little bit more cogently and that's very useful in terms of learning exactly, where was the president? What was he doing? Why wasn't he in the Situation Room? All of this is the sort of thing that I think that makes these sorts of hearings very important.
Yeah, very important, and they start on May 21st. John Kerry, the first witness, and we'll have to see if others, such as former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton and others, will be called. Charlie Hurt of the Washington Times. Always good to see you, Charlie. Thank you.
Thanks, dude.
Well, sadly to say that. Well, coming up here on the Fox News channel later tonight, more on this in-depth situation, the special with Bret Baier, Benghazi, White House cover-up revealed. As tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern with much greater detail, and also it will be repeated tomorrow night at 9 p.m. right here on the Fox News channel.